Leverage method, the future of force? Question. Dense, dense strength and training on the minute wasn't really a thing outside of CrossFit when I started talking about it. It's now something that's used by powerlifters and weightlifters and calisthenics guys, and lots of us have had some really good gains with it. It's part of the ATG system that's helped a lot of people to blow up their legs. I think that leverage method and getting more excited about the concepts I'm going to share within this presentation can have as much impact as dense or as much impact as range, which is kind of the key idea of the Poliquin system, that it matters how long the muscle is when we train it. This is another really, really big concept that I think is poorly languaged or poorly understood in the training world. The catalyst, one of the big catalysts for this was watching this video of a 15-year-old doing this. And it's easy to say, oh, yeah, he's 15. It's easier when you're younger, or, oh, yeah, he's only 5'3", or whatever. But he's been training for 6 years and he can do absolutely amazing, freakish things. And the questions that he asks throughout the video and talking about how he trains, it compelled me to go further with this idea of leverage, which I've been wrestling with. I'm going to share more of the foundations and the base of why. But this young man trains for about an hour a day, and he focuses on being able to get into positions that are really uncommon. He learned to do a handstand when he was 9, just a little bit older than my boy is now. And 3 years later, he could do a planche, something like that. And then he got the one arm handstand and the one arm planche at the same time. Um, Now, this is a specific world of calisthenics, but I think the concepts need to carry over into the strength world, and into anyone who cares about force needs to understand these concepts. He also did clap push-ups in there as well, which I think is really important. It's not just about being able to the clap push-ups are in here somewhere. You can watch it back, but it leads to being able to do explosive stuff as well. And if you think about your legs as like his arms, then this is relevant to everybody, whether you're really interested in calisthenics or whether you're really interested in jumping high or whatever. It's all the same stuff. And that's the big idea that I'm here to share, is that this leverage idea goes way beyond any specific niche of training. There's a big idea within it. So the best athletes get into and out of positions most effectively. I worked with the oldest rugby league player to continue to play after 40. He had great positions. You could just see the way he's moving. He got his legs really far apart. And I tried to get him to coach the young French players because he was a legend of Australian rugby. And a lot of these French players couldn't play anywhere like what he could, but they weren't getting into the positions that he was getting into. So we're moving towards more position-based training in the athletic world, in the sports world, but we don't really have good language and terminology about it yet. I don't think. I think there's a really effective way for getting this across, this transition. It is happening, but how can we understand it better and apply it more systematically? The best athletes in many of never use the best athletes. Many of the best movers never use traditional strength training. So these dancers, gymnasts, parkour athletes, wrestlers, ballerinas, breakdancers, fighters, soccer players, tennis players, golfers, some of them have used strength training, but most of them haven't used conventional strength training, squat, bench, deadlift. Some of them have, but many of them haven't. How can they move as well as they do with so much force, so much power, so much grace without using these movements? I think leverage training is why they're able to do that. And if we reverse engineer that, then we can give everyone access to more of this ability without, weight training doesn't really give you any of those abilities. Whereas this leverage training will contribute more directly towards being the dancer, the wrestler, the ballerina, the breakdancer, in a way that traditional strength training can't contribute, doesn't contribute in the same way to movement quality. It can power up movement, but it doesn't give us access to the positions that we need and fluidity into and out of these positions. So there's the idea of, am I saying just do the sport? If we've got all these athletes here on the left, okay, they're super athletic. Why don't we just do the sport? That works until it doesn't, right? It does, it is a good solution, and many athletes do that. But if you need mass, rugby, NFL, ice hockey, etc., then you're going to have to do something else other than the sport. The sport isn't going to get you there. So what are the options? At the moment, you have to go to the barbell. You go down that traditional training path, and then most athletes feel to some degree that they've lost something that they had before when they go down that path. You hear it all the time. You hear it from lots of different athletes, and a lot of the athletes on the left stay away from it because they don't need the mass and they feel the negative impact of traditional strength training when they use it. There's also the case of needing more force. Sprinters continue to do strength training. They need a higher power to weight ratio. A lot of field sports, a lot of wrestlers will use it. Some don't, but many do. The Eastern wrestling philosophy is more without the gym and wrestling prep that I've been talking about. So just doing the sport isn't fully the answer. So do we have to send everyone to the barbell, or is there an alternative that can maybe get better results or at least complement traditional strength training? So what if the sport hurts? ATG Zero started in 2020 when mentorship students at that time made bodyweight programs for at-home training. Everyone was making these programs. Ben made ATG Zero. That program's helped more people in athletic training than any other program in history, as far as I'm aware. But there's a billion-dollar question. If zero is a bodyweight sequence of movements, it is this kind of leverage training. What happens next? And often, and within the ATG system, within the Poliquin system, the next answer is, okay, now we get to the barbell stuff. Now we get to the serious stuff. Now we're going to add weight. And Ben's not using that as much now, but that was, he's taken the performance side out of ATG now. I just watched his podcast with Tim Ferriss, and it's really just everything's about getting out of pain. And, it's not progressing into performance anymore in his message, even though he's still got those goals and a lot of people in the network do. But where could zero go if it didn't go into dense and standards? This is the big question. And I think that leverage method is the best place to go after zero for 90% of people. Some might be better to go into the barbell, or a mix of both is going to work well often as well. So what's the alternative to zero? Is it the ultimate solution? It is a great solution for dunkers and for sprinting, but other sports require other positions, and there's other movements that are more important and can play the same role. Upper body system for ATG doesn't work anything like the lower body system. Adductors, other muscles, the same principles aren't being applied to the rest of the body in the way that, because when you're doing anything on the legs, you're standing on the legs. And for the arms, you're not standing on them. But we see now the best pitcher in the world is doing tons of back bridge work and handstand work. He's an underweight Japanese pitcher, and he's using that supporting idea, which is a key part of what we're talking about here with leverage. So we know that short and long range work, and we know that it's possible to get great results without weight training. There's two things that we've established so far by looking at these other athletes and ATG Zero. So how do we make progression then? If we're thinking about these athletes who need to solve pain, or they need more force, or they need more mass, we have to progress leverage and length. We can use sport-specific positions. So that's one of the great things. There's many advantages to leverage training over traditional strength training. That can be complementary, or it can be a complete alternative. The ability to use sport-specific positions is one of those advantages. How do we progress leverage? How do we progress length? We'll go in more into this. So the biggest system of leverage training or position-focused training is yoga. Yoga is the most used system outside of the athletic world. If ATG is the system that's gone most mainstream within athletics, most well-known for athletic training for everyday people, yoga is the one that has reached society. It's the dominant system of training in the world today. People go to the gym, but they do whatever. There's no system, and they all do lots of different things. There's no big idea of how people train in the gym. You can't go in the gym and say, "Oh yeah, he's using that system." They're doing something mix of bodybuilding, powerlifting, like whatever the machines are meant to do, just you know, all in their own flavor. There's a million flavors of that. There's different flavors within yoga, but there's a brand there. There's a concept. Um, So it's the most used training methodology is a series of positions to rebalance the body. It has its roots in India, but is massively influenced by big ideas that were going around in the 1800s in Europe. You can see that there was a war going on at that time between should we only use body weight or do we need to use external loads? And that message was going to India, which was a colony of England at the time. And there's a huge influence in the physical training system of yoga. The breath and the mind and all that stuff, I think, is belongs more to their local tradition. But one of the biggest problems with yoga is that it doesn't progress into athleticism. So you don't end up getting backflips or great tendon strength, jumping ability, plyometrics, etc. through yoga. Um, and we need more athleticism. So yoga needs progressions, but in a way, there's something great about yoga and what it's done for the world, and people resonate with the idea of like let's just use the body and get into positions and feel better after it. So there's a precedent of this concept being really mainstream. So it works. Leverage works. These are some of the inspirations for leverage method. Yoga is a big one. The calisthenics that I was sharing, all calisthenics, weighted calisthenics, repetitions. Wolfgang Schulhorn says you don't need to train with weights if you understand biomechanics, if you understand leverage. He trained an athlete who was a local level sprinter in Germany, and he became German champion within a year, I think it was, and I think it was training 3 times a week. Um, and they didn't use any weight training. He became a really good 200, 100 and 200 meter runner using Schulhorn's method. You can see he wrote books about this method. There's photos and such. He really breaks down the positions that are required to run fast. And there's kind of his own version of yoga and gymnastics for sprinting in this book in plyometrics. It's really good. You can see the pictures, you can see how he did it, and it worked. And he's been screaming from his rooftop, which is the academic world. There's like over 1,000 papers about differential skills, but then there's also a number of papers about differential strength. And we'll have more presentations, other presentations around differential we've spoken about. But he's been saying for a long time, hey, weight training is not the answer for sprinters. We don't need to go there. And that's not a very popular idea in the sprinting world, but he has some good results. And then he went off to write papers rather than continuing down that path. But wrestling prep also says she prefers the athletes not to do weight training. They're wrestling, so they're doing a ton of resistance work as well as her body leverage system, body leveraging. But there's also a lot of Eastern schools that don't use the gym, Iranian, Georgian, Russian systems. Some of them use some strength training, some of them don't. A lot of them use like partner stuff. Sometimes they use rocks. But they use a lot of leverage style training with partner and just body positions. We've obviously got WAC, functional patterns, Goda, ancestral positions idea that's around a lot around leverage as well. Some of them use bands and some of them use weights to some degree, but a lot of that concept is around like that we just need to get this body into these positions and then things will work better. It's the same idea that's running across all of these. Rock climbing is mostly just using the body weight, and it's creating complex differential environments to use body weight. And rock climbers are breaking grip strength records and winning grip strength competitions and stuff, which is crazy as well. Well, it's maybe not crazy, but they're using this leverage rather than traditional methods. Ice skaters, you see their methods are really good to check out as well. Just training different positions of pauses. This Yamamoto Yoshimura, yeah, Yoshimura. His training is really interesting to check out. A lot of back bridges, single arm back bridges, one arm handstands, and tons of emphasis on technique and positions with his throwing. But you can see that they're all doing something different, but they're all relying on leverage and kind of breaking the barrier of like, okay, this is calisthenics and that's yoga. In the same way we're doing that in the skills world of like using a soccer ball doesn't mean you're a soccer player. It's just it's a skills tool. Using a Swiss ball doesn't make you in love with the Swiss ball. It's just a tool for balance or body awareness. So in the same way, we can have this general idea of how to build leverage into the body and the ability to deal with force and understand that any positions can be used depending on the person that you're working with, the sport that you're working towards. Um, so Marinovic also was hugely critical of traditional training and used a lot of like long duration slant board holds, like rock climbing for the feet. It really is like the foundation of his system was standing on slants and standing on pipes. And then that progressed into more explosive versions of that, which were jumping plyometrics. And ATG Zero is another good example of how you can just progress leverage and get results. Um, Beyond ATG Zero as well, like a lot of Ben Patrick did more sissy squats than just about anyone, and he pushed that thing further when hardly anyone was able to get their knees into the pool. And then a lot of people copy that, and he's not talking about it anymore. But whatever you've done in the past, it's part of your training history. It's in your body, it's in your joints, it's in your neural system, and the sissy squat I think is a huge part of the value of ATG, as well as like the hack squat as well, which is another one that kind of got left out in the streamlining of making it just about getting out of pain for everyday people. But yeah, there's huge value in that. Was really how leverage was progressed in ATG. So you got the flat step up, into the slant, and then you start going into the split squat. But you go to the hack and you go to the sissy squat. You increase the leverage, you make it longer range, but you make it heavier without actually adding external load. Single leg sissy squats aren't really happening. Single leg step ups are happening. Single leg hack squats aren't happening. So there's a progression in leverage there where you have to go bilateral because it's too heavy. So yeah, just some specific names. I did mention the baseball already, but Ives and Adam Archuleta. Ives, I don't know the other name and last name. I'm not sure if he shares it, but his YouTube stuff is really interesting in the climbing and grip world. The Adam Archuleta story is really interesting. Super powerful one around how he became a crazy explosive athlete through Jay Schroeder's system. But diving more into what is this leverage method and how do we get clearer about how to talk about it? I'm saying it's not traditional strength training, but what is it? It's about training the positions that matter most. Train most positions that matter most. So which positions matter most for you as an athlete? Train them most. When you go squat, bench, deadlift, you can guarantee you're not hitting the positions that are most important for you in your sport in the way that they're important for you in your sport, unless you're a powerlifter. Doesn't mean they can't have a role, doesn't mean they can't have a place. But what we need to train most is the positions that matter most. If we train most the positions that matter most, we'll be more resilient in those positions. We'll be able to get into and out of those positions more effectively. What's an example of that? Another one is Tai Chi. What's Tai Chi? It's another ancient system of positions. You move from this position to that position gracefully, and you progress how difficult those positions are to hold, to get into. You land in the position from a jump. You move quickly between the positions. The foundation of leverage training is positions. We don't think enough about improving the positions that we're able to get into, balance in, get out of. Traditional dance is another one that I haven't mentioned in the presentation yet. We've all seen the Cossack dances, the traditional, Ukrainian Slavic dance, Greek dancing. Lots of cultures have extreme, they have positions that most people can't get into these days, and they're able to get into and out of those positions extremely explosively. I watched someone, a Cirque du Soleil, or I think it was, watched someone drop from standing on dip bars. So he's standing on the dip bars and he just put his feet in and he landed in the dip position. So a lot of people can hold the bottom of a dip. Some people have to work hard on it. Sometimes it feels quite challenging. But to get into that position at that speed is a whole other level. I've never seen anyone do that in real life. Don't know if I ever will. But this is the idea of by getting really strong at the position. So you choose, okay, the bottom of the dip is this really crazy position that I want to be crazy strong at because it's relevant to me, either because it's fun or because it's going to carry over to something else that I want to do. So you build strength in that position, and then rather than only thinking about adding more weight, getting from A to B at whatever speed you can do it, being able to receive more force faster in the key positions. So we progress the positions through speed, as I was just talking about, making it heavier. You make it heavier by going bilateral. You make it heavier by shifting the weight. As you shift the knees further and further forward, you shift onto your toes. It gets heavier for the quads. It gets heavier for the feet, for the toes. And then you progress by going longer. The long duration stuff was really the key for that young 15-year-old boy who's doing the single arm handstand push up and the single arm, the body lever to one arm handstand, all that stuff. The key for him has been the one arm handstand itself. So I think that that long duration foundation is something that is missing. It's hugely, it was missing from my training. You can do it through the sled, you can do it through traditional movements. The concentric only idea is something that is there with the sled training. It's something that I've pushed a lot in the range idea and short range and rehabilitating. Long duration stuff is a huge part of the Schroeder system, which built Adam Archuleta. There's lots of examples of this long duration. You see this pitcher who's only trying to throw the ball really, really fast. He's trying to do something really fast, and that's the only thing he does. He's doing tons of handstands. He's doing a lot of really long duration contractions, but they're where the white tissues are loaded as well. It's not just a muscle contraction. It's joint on joint, bone on bone pressure as well. I think one of the biggest things that we could do to benefit mankind is just to encourage people to stand on one leg more often. Like literally, I think that's a huge part of what ATG Zero is doing. Is just like stand on one leg, use one leg more. And if you can then progress that into deeper and deeper step ups, I've seen people, the value of the step up becomes more and more about what's the lowest position that you can hold. And we see with this calisthenics training, it's more valuable to spend more time and more focus on the challenging position than just doing traditional reps. And so if we're focusing on the leverage rather than focusing on repetitions, we'll get better results in terms of progressing positions. We'll get L sits and V sits faster. We'll get planches. We'll get front levers. We'll get sissy squats. We'll get splits. We'll get all of these things faster if we're more focused on the positions, spending time in those positions. Does it have to be isometric? Is leverage method isometric? For me, it's not. I'll sometimes hold a position for 5 or 10 seconds. Jay Schroeder was saying you had to be able to hold the position for 5 minutes. The wrestling prep lady at the end of Carolyn Weston, I think it is, at the end of her presentation, she was saying it's a prerequisite for her wrestlers to be able to hold for 6 minutes in the wrestling position that she showed at the end of that podcast. I don't know if that's moving between left leg and right leg. It'd be good to interview her. I've been looking through other stuff of hers and I haven't seen her talk about it anywhere else. But the start before all that crazy acrobatic stuff that I've been sharing is you have to be able to hold for 5 minutes in deep positions. She does forward positions and backward positions because wrestling is mostly forward and backwards. For NFL and rugby and such, and tennis, like it's more about sideways. And so the positions will change from goal to goal, from position, sport to sport, calisthenics, whatever your goal is, you're going to use different positions. If you really like the natural ancestral movement flavor of things, cool, like tweak it a bit, turn the foot in, turn the hip a little bit. Maybe it makes all the difference. Or maybe a big part of the stuff why functional patterns and these other systems are working is just because they're giving us more of these long duration contractions. I think it's both. I think there's definitely part of this biomechanical realignment, but I think part of it is also long duration, long times on attention in positions that matter. And then we can progress the range as well. The extremes of short range and the extremes of long range. It just feels amazing when you get strength in these positions. Not so much being able to passively be in them. I think there is a downside to that. Your functional patterns push back hard against kind of stretching and just leaving things passively. And I do think that's generally overrated, but being able to hold yourself in really long range positions or really short range positions, yeah, there's something very powerful about it. We intuitively respect it and are kind of shocked by it when we see it. Someone can control their body into end range positions. And then we're bringing like more joint dominance as well. I was playing around again today with, I've been working on a bit of being able to do those snatches where you go behind the back and over. Like that was at one stage, that was my worst nightmare and something I could never consider doing. I'm still doing it with like it's like a 3-4 kilo bar or something. Um, but I was also pausing in those in the key position of that in a sissy squat type position. I think I've got a video of it. I filmed bits today, but so we want to progress this ability, volume of training, intensity of training, quality of positions. How do we progress volume of training? More time in the positions. How do we progress the intensity? Harder positions. We're naturally going to be able to get into harder positions as we practice. The levers are going to get longer in the front lever and the planche, and the knees are going to get further forward in the sissy squat, and the Mexican handstand is going to get more leveraged, and so that naturally increases the intensity. We can always go to one hand. Like people worry about not having enough intensity. No one can do single leg hack squats. And, like it's very rare to see. People think they can do it, but if you try and do it strictly, it's extremely difficult. And you can still push further forward from that into like a sissy squat, single leg sissy squat. Who's seen someone do a single leg sissy squat? So leverage can go a long way. There's always more intensity there. And then we want to progress the quality of the positions as well. So that's where we can play around with micro adjustments in the biomechanics and such. As I said, we want to be able to do fast, we want to be able to do heavy, we want to be able to do long. Mostly focus on long to start with, progressing into more fast and light and heavy. It's just logical progression. We can do more. We 100% can do more. It's just not normal to be able to hold these positions in our society. And we're not training in an intelligent way to be able to get very athletic positions. There's enough proof, there's enough examples, there's enough ideas around. I've experienced it with myself. So how do we start? Choose 3 to 5 positions. Easiest way is like one squat type position, one hinge type position, or 2 lower body positions, 2 upper body positions. Simple way to think about it. 10 minutes a day, you're going to move between those positions. If your goal is to do the planche, then your position is going to be more so the handstand. You're going to just do a little bit of planche work, but you're going to be working on things that are easier. If you want to be able to do great sissy squats, then you're going to spend time in an active kneeling squat. You're going to spend time in a mid position squat with the knees forward, like the middle of the hack squat. So you want to regress the leverage from the end goal, but you have the end goal movement of doing something that you can't do now. And then you want to practice things that are significantly easier and just rotate between those movements. This is how I've been training at the moment. You could do it strictly 30 seconds on this one, then 30 seconds on that one, then 30 seconds on the next one. I did some roughly on the minute, but it doesn't have to be that strict. And that's part of the idea with leverage method. You don't have to load up a barbell. You don't have to change the weight. You can instantly change the resistance of any movement, and you've got your gym with you everywhere you go. If you love the gym and you love weights, cool, keep that. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm still going to be training in the gym, 100%. I'm still going to use the barbell. I'm not saying that's all gone. What I am saying is there's not a really good way of thinking about how to do body weight training progressively, universally at the moment. That goes from slow, that's understood to be how you can do it slow, how you can do it heavy, how you can do it fast, how you can do it for the whole body, how you can make it sport specific. That's the goal with leverage training. And so you do your 10 minutes, 3 to 5 positions. And this is also something that fits Marcel well and Jonathan, like with the idea of like hitting your minimums of the day. If it's not like your gym day, then do this. And you're going to feel good and you're going to make progression and you do it alongside your skill work. Mhm. How much time, how many excuses does this crush for people? Saves time, crushes excuses. This is good. That's pretty much where Dance came from as well. He's like, no excuses. Everyone's got 5 minutes. Just start the clock. One set on the minute, 5 minutes. This is even simpler than that. So foundation positions could be handstand, push up, do stuff, pause at the top of the push up. One hand, top of the push up, bent arm. Bottom of the push up. One hand, bottom push up, deficit. Intuitively, you can work this out. We can science it a lot and like really, I am going to put it all into the levels. It's level 0, level 1, level 2 positions, time periods in those positions. I think it's going to be fun to do that. But it's also a bit of a license to be creative again, to have fun again. Uh, it doesn't take just don't hurt yourself. Keep moving between the positions. Have the idea in mind that most of your training should be long duration, should be comfortable, shouldn't be any stress. Don't push to the limit. If you do push to the limit and you feel a bit sore the next day, you know that that's not for you for right now. This is a real opportunity to reconnect with your intuition and your body. Babies don't injure themselves. It's not because they're smarter than us. It's because they're intuitive. Dogs and cats, they don't go and injure themselves by jumping off things that are too high and whatever. They they're able to follow their intuition. So some ideas about progressing positions, some things to work towards. These are things that I want you athletes to be able to do. Um, yeah, planche progressions. Even being able to hold a strong tuck planche is a good one. I held a piked straddle planche today for the first time in a while, maybe a year or two, I don't know. Just by playing around with this for the last few days, I'm already getting like close. I've never really been beyond that in terms of the planche, to be honest. But yeah, spending a ton of time at the bottom of the handstand push-up. That's how I got my handstand push-ups. In Montenegro, I was just goofing around with playing in the bottom position of the handstand push-up when I went down the beach. There was no equipment there. I was doing little bounces in the bottom, holding in the bottom, going around a little circuit, and then all of a sudden I could do handstand push-ups. And then I did 1,000 handstand push-ups in that little block when we had the challenge going. So yeah, there's lots of examples here. Single arm back bridges I think are really, really valuable. V sits and L sits I love. Front lever. These are just some examples of positions that we want to work towards. There's the things like being able to do things on the fingertips then. So these are like flavors that you add to the push-up or to the handstand. They can progress a lot. These, especially the extremities like this, it doesn't drain the nervous system to do that stuff. But then you can have incredibly strong hands and feet. I'm thinking more about this. I saw a rock climber the other day who can stand on the scales with a weight on his back with only the big toes on the scales. So he weighs about 120 pounds, like 130, 40 pounds, something like little guy. I don't know. I'm talking pounds because his scales were in pounds, but he went over 300 on the scales just with his big toes on the scales. Like, why are we not training that? Today in the sauna, I was standing on my toes on the edge of a little step, just the toes off the edge. We can always be training this stuff. With the idea of leverage, you never like you just can be training all the time. And if you want to be extremely athletic, for rock climbing, for foot strength, like it takes incredible volume. That's how it happens. That's how we get to these positions and these abilities. It's not an exhaustive list, it's just some ideas. Troubleshooting, if you're getting pain, go slower, do less, use more short range, use more bilateral movements. Mostly be thinking about building for the future, building for tomorrow, building for what you're going to be able to do 12 months from now. Don't always be testing yourself. Don't always find the limit of things. If you've got pain in an area consistently, like planche can mess up, you can piss off your bicep tendon, or handstands can annoy your wrists. Move away from the area. Don't make that a focus area. If you keep annoying it, and put together a plan to fix that area, but don't keep driving into issues. I feel like I can notice already. I'm going to share a bit more of my own experience. I'll get to that in a second. If you're feeling really tired, take more rest between sets. Use easier positions. Take a day off, or push through it. Eat more, sleep more. Yeah, this is it's simple stuff that the champion athletes do. If you know you're not lazy, then it'll be okay. If you're just lazy, then don't worry about fatigue. Um, if you didn't notice, I didn't know that deposit photos was on that image when I copied it. Um, but you're the boss. That's a big thing that I'm trying to give you here. I think the biggest thing that leverage method does give you is like the empowerment of like, what positions do I want to use? What amount of weight can I handle on this? And really feeling into your body, because no one's going to, in person, I think it's going to be fantastic. Like for personal trainers to train someone in person and just guide them through the positions and kind of see where their body's at and like mirror each other. I think it's going to be fantastic to train in this way, like intuitively leading into their body. And the way that we're doing with some of the skill stuff now, I think like through the live classes online is going to be fantastic. But it's also an opportunity for someone to understand their own body more and be able to lead themselves more, which I know is scary for some people, but uh, this is part of growing up, part of being a sovereign individual, being an adult. And it's a joy of life, really, when you feel like you have that control and you can play with it, and you've got your gym with you everywhere, and you keep progressing. It's such a exhilarating way to live life. So this is my experience with it so far. I've really been focusing on it the last 3 or 4 days. I've done lots of position type training in the past. Um, yeah, so 10 years ago, I could hit many positions that I can't now, and it's just because I stopped trying to hit them. But I definitely felt better and more athletic being able to get into positions that I've stopped being able to get into. So, yeah, it's a different sensation waking up in the morning. And I'll be excited to hear how other people feel with this as well. But I've been doing, as I tend to, I recommended you guys do 10 minutes. I've been doing an hour, and I just go for an hour between positions. And if I feel like really like I'm getting gassed, I generally just find a really easy position, like stand on one foot, ball the foot. Today I mixed it with skills. So I did skills together, did about an hour and a half, just going between positions and skills. And yeah, it progresses into the jumping and all that stuff as well, because it's just the the position of like the mid position, the landing position of parkour. I'm looking at Marcel and Jonathan. You guys are my parkour heroes and inspiration. It's like if I'm good at holding a mid position with my like a level of knee bend, knees forward on the ball of the foot, if I can hold that position for a long time, and if I can do like little micro jumps there, little bounces, and it's feeling more and more comfortable to be there, the guess is that I feel better landing. Already, I feel better landing. Today, I did some really nice jumps, and like that was what Schroeder did with Adam Archuleta. I don't know if parkour athletes are doing that. If there's like if it's in the culture to do like the pauses in the positions, we can discuss that in a minute. But yeah, I feel different sensation waking up in the morning. It's a different type of soreness. My glutes are crazy sore from doing this wrestling position. So the wrestling position, I'll show you in a minute, but it's at the end of that podcast that I've been sharing from Wrestling Prep. I've been using that position just all day, bunch of times through the day, maybe getting like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. My glutes are so sore, and it's like I've never really felt. It's sort of like a single leg good morning. It's like a seated good morning without the bench. The other leg's just there to support you a bit, but your front leg is kind of like the good morning position. I'll show you in a minute. And yeah, I'm feeling like this is something very good. Like I don't I don't know if I'm packaging it well enough yet or explaining it well enough yet, but if you were in my body, you would understand, why it's so exciting. And I'm looking forward to you just testing it and feel into it. Let's work through the challenges for you individually. But there's something here that you're not going to get with a squat and a clean and a snatch as much as I love those and bench press. And I do think it's going to help. Gymnasts go straight in and bench press over body weight, sometimes close to double body weight on their first go because they train leverage. They train leverage into multis and all those crazy positions, and then they can bench press a truck. Um, so, yeah, I've been saying this already, but this isn't ultra scientific right now in terms of telling you exactly sets and reps and time and positions and progressions. Circus and parkour have had more intuitive approach to training and they get better results as far as taking athletes to extreme places. There can be a more artistic approach to it. We will work on making it a little bit more Western mind friendly, but there's a place for this, and I think it's enough today for us to get started and get moving. So that went a little bit longer than I was planning, but yeah, open it up to questions, additions, what you'd like to add based on your own experiences so far. Thank you for listening. Those who are listening to the recording, if you would like to join the case study for this, just DM me leverage and I'll send you the details. Kadeem, I didn't even know you were there. Welcome. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. I was about to unmute myself because I can't wait to literally speak about what you just said there. I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. And it's so funny because like what you're describing there, that like your experience with the soreness, how it makes you feel to then go into like strength lifts or generally how you're moving is what I've been experiencing for pretty much every time I've done the horse stance for a long time. Like I haven't done it consistently because I went to Senegal and whatever, but every time I do these long duration holds in certain positions, everything else I then do is stronger, is better, is feels more elastic as well. And yeah, there is no like I couldn't explain to Liam, look, this is the science or like this is why it works so well. And it was kind of tough, but I could simply just say what I'm feeling and pretty much what you said as well, which is really, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the horse stance has been used in martial arts throughout the ages. Ido Portal was kind of pushing it. Is the first one that I saw bringing it to the West. But I know it's part of what Chong's done, which has been an influence for you. Chongji, I think, is that where it's coming from for you? That influence
Yeah,
the
the
horse
horse
stance?
stance
Or,
maybe not specifically, but
okay.
like generally like the idea of holding
Yeah,
isometrics longer. Yeah.
yeah. I still don't have a strong feeling about like strict isometrics are super important. I think they're good for willpower and like training the mind. But I don't have a strong feeling, I don't have any intuitive feeling that you need to stay static for a long time. I think it's probably less valuable in like if you had to build two athletes and one of them was going to use only static positions and the other one was able to move a little bit in those positions and find like nuance within the positions and transition between the positions more often. If that was their only physical prep, I would want the athlete that moves between the positions. Like I think it's intuitively he's going to be a better athlete. Generally, all the super long duration isometric stuff is really intended as a foundation so that you can tolerate the fast stuff, which I know you're doing as well anyway. But as long as we're getting
Yeah.
to that point of being able to tolerate the fast stuff, then we're good. But the idea of let's stay with the slow stuff and progress the leverage is also kind of a radical idea. Like a lot of For example, in the Schroeder system, it's like you have those intense isometrics to start with, and then you go into plyometrics, but there's no like, okay, let's progress these strength positions into more leveraged, more challenging positions in the way that, for example, the calisthenics world is doing. Um, yeah, thinking about that, like slightly off center sissy squat and getting people like closer towards single leg sissy squats. It's going to be super dangerous if people just try and start doing fucking single leg sissy squats. But the leverage can continue to progress is the idea. And it's happening with the upper body with that single arm planche. But it's, where can it go in the lower body? And the entries in and out as well. Like that's a crazy thing as well. Like how fast can you get into and out of that position? Like sissy squat jumps, something that you start to see little bits of popping up here and there. It's like, what else coming up here? Good to see you, Jose, as well. Kenny, welcome.
Hey, coach.
Wow, welcome.
I'm thinking about how we're gonna structure the our training. Like, are we gonna start the sessions like with short range and then move up to the longer ranges, or are we gonna just like do a short range for the shoulder and or do like a long range for your knees, or how are you gonna structure the training?
Yeah. I think, yeah, starting with the bilateral stuff is probably the easiest way to make sure it doesn't get too crazy. But yeah, also I think the short range is generally like it works well, it's safer, it still makes sense in the context of preparing the connective tissues. Um, yeah, I've been starting with I've been doing lots of like really partial handstand push-ups and then mid position squat stuff, standing a lot on one foot, heel really high. Yeah, a lot of short range. I think short range is the foundation of it. Um, yeah, I don't know if you need long periods of time in the long range positions, but they're definitely valuable to gain and to be able to access quickly. I think is really what I'm excited about and working towards with them. Like, yeah, the back bending stuff. It's long range. I guess yeah, I haven't been doing like short range ab work before I'm going into back bending or Mexican type stuff. Um, it depends on the preparation of your body as well. Like, yeah, Nordics fit in there well as well. I haven't been setting it up, but yeah, my hamstrings are pretty roasted just from. I'll show you that wrestling position that I was talking about. It's really simple. It's just about shoulder width, a bit more than shoulder width apart, and then the torso is coming down um, in alignment with the knee, spending a lot of time down here, like pretty much torso horizontal to the ground. And then you're getting like a little bit of that. See, yeah, it's like that good morning type position. I don't know if you can see, but sometimes going in a bit more narrow with the stance and into more of this like kickstand squat. But a lot of time down here, it's roasting my legs. But it also feels good for the lower back as well. I have been dealing with a tweak in the lower back. Like it was a big issue up until 3, 4 months ago, till before Montenegro. Really, it was like really bothering me fairly consistently, and this also feels really good. Feels like it's going to be really good for it. Just like low intensity. It hasn't been bothering me on any movements anymore. Like I can do everything where I couldn't squat and I couldn't snatch. Um, but yeah, this feels really good for it as well. That position specifically, I think. And yeah, when you go like hips a bit higher on that, Kadeem, then you start hitting like something that's going to carry over to the Nordic into sprinting. It's like bent over sprinting is crazy aggressive for the hamstrings. So upright straight leg sprinting is one way to hit the hamstrings, but then if you bend forward, then you really start to hit the hamstrings. And that's why Schulhorn was saying you don't need the weight room, and he didn't use Nordics, but like if you put your arms over your head and you bend forward a little bit as you sprint, like the loading on the hamstrings is crazy. That it's it's just thinking about leverage, but then yeah, you can hold those positions. Um, but yeah, I still think the Nordics fantastic for all this as well.
Is this like the same as pulsing at like the bottom position of the Nordics? Because that's one video I've seen of you, and that
Yeah.
like really helped me in the progressions of getting like the full range and getting a bit stable there.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like how many more people would have Nordics and not injure themselves on Nordics if they were focusing just on positions instead of trying to get reps? If the hard part of Nordic is the bottom, and most people have been skipping the bottom by doing eccentrics where you go slow, faster, 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 fall. Where the part that we need the most is the part where everyone's falling and not using it, not doing it all. So yeah, there's lots of tools to help you train the bottom part, but putting heaps of time in the bottom part is what's going to be most valuable for preventing hamstring strains, for knee integrity, and for getting the full Nordics. Yeah. I'm still a big fan of like pulsing and intuitively like playing with this, switching the muscle on and off in the positions and like even thinking about jumping without really moving, but like just kind of taking a bit of tension out and like almost preparing to be able to do drop catches in the position, um, with hardly any movement. It just feels like that's going to be way more valuable to me than only holding there because you sort of switch off when you hold. Like that's kind of the goal when you do those long duration isometrics, isn't it? It's like how can I turn off as much as possible? It's going to get people crazy shredded as well because hand balancing gets people shredded like long times under tension. You can stay under tension for most of the time when you're doing this. So you got a nice conditioning effect.
I really wanted to share while you were doing the presentation. That's exactly, or very, very similar to the things that also got me out of my injury with my ACL and my knee, like doing supported one-legged stitches or very, very deep knee bends, supporting myself from a door frame, getting, I was very weak and I had pain in the 90-degree bend. And I was finding different ways to get into the position. In the beginning, it was more isometric, but then I went the way of doing slow bounces in and out, adding more elasticity into it. And I can definitely see that it's an approach that can get you out of pain and really progress you to freakish levels. Um, and it's super fun and so accessible. So really, really excited to experiment more with this in different positions, different body parts. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've done so much of it with your rock climbing background and your acrobatic, background, putting time into those positions versus repeating the same movements. Like there's so much more return on investment, whether it's alongside or whether it's instead of. At the moment, I'm thinking like 50-50 is like I think you want at least 50% focus on positions, and leveraging your body weight, um, in terms of like the volume of your resistance training. That's what I'm thinking at the moment is that it should be like 50%. But I think it's easy to, I think I'm going to get better results with using, I think I will be using like 70-80%. That's intuitively what I think I'm going to do. If I'm hanging around people who want to do a lot of Bible stuff, I'll still do that and all. But I think for the next few months for me, I see myself, just getting a lot better at a lot of the positions and thinking about it, even just think about it from a business perspective, like it's more dramatic to be able to hold a bunch of crazy positions. My barbell numbers are never going to be what tells people like, okay, he must know what he's talking about. But the positions do, like the L sits, the pancake, the Mexican handstand, whatever. Like they just speak much louder than barbell stuff, um, which it's not the only reason to do things of like what's going to get views or what's going to make money, but it's also kind of an intuitive thing that people understand. There's something to this. I'd like to be able to do that. That's cool. That the Bible gets within a certain niche, but from the majority of society, like it just doesn't appeal to see a big barbell moving.
I remember when I was speaking with Nico when I was in Bali, and he shared the journey of getting like a lot of reps on the 90-degree handstand push-up, and he was really repping out just the specific range of the end position.
Yeah,
And so it's very similar in the frame, just yeah, still bouncing in the end position, isometric stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you could do it with dense. Like I was thinking about before the presentation, like is this just dense with isometrics? But I think it's a bigger concept than that, and especially I do want to make the concept stick of the differential of like do it in slightly different ways. Like, okay, you want to do your handstand push up from this position, which is the strongest one for the 90-degree push up, but then put your hands slightly off center and see if you can still lift yourself off the ground or go slightly further to the front or roll yourself into it. Like, build a bigger skill base around it. And I also think like that imposing the on the minute stuff from my experience so far is like not necessary and not ideal. And I would like the world to have a more intuitive solution. Like dance is still very mechanical and very like um, like authoritarian in a way, where it would be great to also have a system that encourages more free thought, exploration, and intuitiveness. Yeah. What are you thinking, Kenny? You're in the leverage world of BJJ, but you also love the heavy lifting, as I do and have.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it does make a lot of sense. I think um, maybe I'm showing my age among new athlete crowd here is that I remember Ito doing the 30-30 squat challenge and taking part in that when he released the Facebook group in like 2012. Which to me, like that's positional work, right? And that was in a weird roundabout way how I discovered ATG and how I eventually got in touch with you was actually kind of because of that.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed positions like, and I've always done them very intuitively. And I've never programmed them, right? They're just something that I play around with. I'm at home watching TV, whatever. It's like, all right, like let's just kind of mess around with this because I can't sit still. I do think, I think I like that for the wider breadth, right? And I think a lot of the benefit is for the same reason I find that something like ATG or the broader sense of range is very beneficial in that you're broadening a spectrum versus if I say, hey, we're going to squat, bench, deadlift, we're not really broadening much of a spectrum. Even if we're doing sub variations there, they're often not hitting greater ranges of motion. But when you do these things, you have a high build, and then you're finding all these pieces, all these corners that you maybe just aren't hitting. And I think that that's an incredibly valuable thing
Yeah.
in and of itself.
And you probably as a wrestler, like or as a grappler, you probably don't have as many of those gaps. And that like I don't know if you would feel like I really did mostly traditional strength training for 6, 8 years, like bits of handstands and stuff, like bits of stuff, but you can really feel that there's like big gaps when you're not laboring, you're not wrestling, like you're not doing anything that will really fill in the gaps. Like I think if you're doing parkour and you're doing stuff like that, you probably fill it in. I don't know if any of you would have experienced. But there's like you can be really strong in this position, and then you're just slightly over there, and you just know you can't really, you haven't been there in 10 years. Like it's a funny thing, but I know intuitively I'm feeling with this like, oh, okay, yeah, these gaps. Like I could squat 155 kilos, like ass to grass. Um, but I had like zero hack squat strength or zero sissy squat, like zero. And yeah, that's not how it's meant to be. Like this is the solution to that of like, no, do some of this as well and be good at any position you can get into that relates to a squat. And if you want to squat super heavy, cool. But like you don't need to have these massive gaps because then you think, you can kind of jump because that's the same pattern, but then you sort of know you're not really ready for the world or yeah.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky. Because like, and barbell is my favorite way to train strength. But like before I had the barbell access all the time, before I worked out of a gym, it's like I trained at home with kettlebells. And I had all the traditional sizes up to like a 48 kilo. Obviously, like I said, had some interest in the stuff that Ito was doing, had some interest in the stuff that Ben was doing. So I was getting a lot of that and probably came into barbell lifting with a wider base, even if I didn't have as much of a high ceiling. I had a breadth of different things to my legs and my torso, and that probably did carry over and made getting into the barbell a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's massive carryover. Like the best weightlifter that I ever saw in person was a gymnast and she transitioned into weightlifting and she was like fantastic. It was so much easier for her than and her coach didn't really understand like why she was so natural. I don't think he understood because he was trying to get everyone else to do what she was doing, but we weren't working off the same software or hardware.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's there. You get so much body control with that too, and you know, this is something that I've experienced as training people is some like cueing people who have never trained before is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it can be very different. Sometimes some people are very natural, but then you're gonna have people that you're like, I literally cannot understand why you can't comprehend this at all, and it's one of the hardest parts of coaching. Um, but it is definitely a real thing, um, and to have that experience, it's really great if you just have somebody who's like a physical therapist or something. And you're like, oh yeah, just externally rotate your shoulders.
Well, I think that's also going to be a huge benefit, Kenny. Like, imagine if you're training someone with this leverage method and you're just continually building up this rapport with them and their body, and you know how to slowly work them into and out of positions, and you can label the stuff how you want to label it, but you're almost giving them body language practice leading up towards, whatever else, if they want to do barbell stuff, or if you want them to snatch in the future, like you can be talking them through that, walking through that slowly in various ways. And without sort of breaks away from the model of rest periods and yeah, changing the weights and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of fluency I think that you can have within a session as well by using some of this. And then yeah, it can easily turn into a jump. Like if you can, okay, do you feel like that's warmed you up for jumping? Like okay, like just jump now, and then you easily just move into the next thing. And um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. When you said like that, what you would like my course to be, I was like, oh well, here's one thing I'm going to put in there is that every person who coaches people in person needs to spend a decent amount of time doing natural method, um,
yeah,
because it's a body map,
yeah,
right? Like it's a body map, and you start a you will invent new exercises because they're all just made up anyway. So you just like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
this is what I want to happen, and so I'm going to make something around it for this client who I can't figure out how to get them to do this other thing that I want. Um, but it's a little harder to take people through an alternative method like that because when they go to work with a trainer, it's like they think that you're somehow going to have all the answers to their body. And if you've been existing on this planet for 45 years and I've met you today, I don't have all the answers to your body. It's a conversation that we work out together.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, if you can, if you can get people on board with some of the more exploratory stuff, it does help them to kind of discover their body a little.
Yeah. And what's the difference between leverage method and natural method? Like they're almost the same idea, but making it a little bit more specifically about certain positions gives it a little bit more structure and making it a little bit more about progressing in leverage and also towards progressing in like speed and duration in those positions. I think it's a slightly less intuitive, slightly more structured version of what I was getting at with the natural method, but definitely very related. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're presenting it and I'm going like, this is like a 2.0 natural method is
yeah.
literally what I had in my head.
Yeah, I never really presented natural method too much. Like we did it within the Transform 7, but I did like that as well. And I do like the idea. It's they are very related. The idea with those ones was to like to stick on that one body part for like 5 to 10 minutes or that one movement pattern concept.
Yep.
I'm thinking more about the rotation because yeah, it starts to burn real fast.
That's how I've been using it. I use it a lot to warm up or just to play around, but I've kind of added more archetypes like throwing or at this point, I guess I'm not even saying throwing anymore so much as I'm saying interior range, but just finding all the different ways in which I can bend and twist and go through that because I think that's so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, this is a good way, Jan, I think, to work towards that V sit. The V sit is a big part of the V sit is just tricep strength and being able to support the upper body on a big angle. If the hamstrings can be separate to the separate conversation. Like if you can tuck and get to that angle, it's really like a great tricep position. If you want to help someone activate their triceps. Yeah, the hands are almost got to be further forward. Like put your knees in front of you, like take them off the bed or whatever they're on, lounge. Put your feet on the floor. Yeah, yeah. And then put your hands like in front of your butt.
Yeah, I feel the tricep really good.
Very good. Yes.
Very good.
Full cramp. It's pretty much the only way to cramp your triceps.
Yeah.
Extreme activation, short range. Without leverage method, no one would have ever known. It's like not a place that you go to often in the traditional training world. That's the invitation is to like go to all the places. Tuck feet in. Yeah, you trying to do it, Jonathan, or are you doing something else?
I was just playing with getting into it without lifting the legs, but basically just leaning back from
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Like as a regression to be able to. Yeah, that's nice. That
yeah,
would toast the triceps as well, right?
yeah, 100%.
Have you got a nice tuck V?
I haven't trained it in years.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Nice.
yeah, some way to go.
You got the upper body for it. I was doing it in the sauna in Montenegro. Oof. We need it. Positions, gentlemen. Positions. I want to see you on that yarn. No excuses. 110 kilo. Yeah, it's definitely partly about the posterior chain as well. But yeah, the triceps. That's going to happen as well, Marcel. It's a backflip entry. And see getting to the feet, knees over the shoulders, and land it. Burner, nice. Yeah. Shins to face if you're a Ukrainian 12-year-old, 7-year-old Ukrainian girl. You put the shins on the forehead. Yeah. More pike mobility, Jonathan. Kevin, we bulking or cutting? It looks yeah. Más y más. Sí, señor. Ganando. What else coming up here, gents? Thoughts, ideas? Getting a bit more playful with it. Glutes positions. What are our glutes positions, Jose?
Can you repeat it, please?
What positions do we need here for the glutes? I know you're a lot about the short range glutes.
Maximal contractions. I'm very much focused on charging chi. I teach it contracting the legs into a nuclear area that people call the root chakra. So from that area, you just contract into that. A contraction is just contracting into yourself. You know how the spinal engine, I say that that's great, but it has to start from the bottom of the spine. That's the real engine. It's the bottom. So just contracting into yourself, into your spine, starting from the glutes and from the anal sphincter. That would be like the essence of it. And how? However you like, but just getting in there in contraction.
Standing or lying, or it doesn't matter?
I prefer standing.
Yeah, yeah. Pushing the hips forward, or does it like just normal standing?
It depends, but yeah, pushing the hips forward, sometimes the legs slightly open, sometimes slightly closed, like,
Yeah.
and feeling into the positions, and into the energies in there and how you can contract better. Usually you can contract deeper in positions that are externally rotating the hips
Yeah.
because the glutes can contract into a more contracted position and that activates even deeper.
And what do you think about long range glute training? Like
I'm not
for
sure.
strength, not for stretch,
I'm not sure. I think the glutes should be the least elastic area of the body, should be the most contractile. Like the axis is off if we're thinking stretching the glutes. Usually, the idea of stretching the glutes, I believe, is a lack of short range strength in the front of the body. And the reason for this is usually that we are already flexed. So, usually, we intuitively avoid the maximal contraction of the front of the hips because we are already flexing the hips. And so the solution would be to unflex the hips and contract the back a lot, the glutes and the lumbar area, the sacral area, and then to flex even more the hips so that we can antagonize the tension in the glutes that don't really need stretching. It's more of an adductor short range and like groin area short range lack of strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. If have a go at that wrestling position, Jan, that I was showing. It is like a long range. I don't know if you were on at that time, Jose, were you when I was showing the it feels like I'm gonna have better function from my glutes to do those exercises that you're talking about because they're gonna be bigger and more connected to the brain. Yeah, going down deeper and trunk. Yeah, trunk bend forward and then bend the knees more as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can go all the way forward, bend the knee further, so your trunk is closer to the floor. Your whole upper body closer to the floor. Get lower. You can go back if you need to, but get lower. Go a bit wider stance. Yeah. Then shift weight between your left leg and your right leg.
You should be able to pretty effortlessly tap the ground with your hand.
Yeah. Keep looking straight up ahead, like you've got a wrestling partner in front of you. Yeah, and go deeper. Yeah. Go into full knee bend now. Kenny might show you his yeah. Yeah. Get all the way down
I,
to the bottom of that. Then
I
come out of
think
the
a
bottom
part
again. Flatten the back again. Yeah, go, Jose. How's it
I
feeling?
think a part of the benefit of this exercise would also come from the efferent strength towards the hip flexor, which will help in queuing up more energy, because it will hypertrophy and give results in a proportional to how much efferent strength you send there, because you're not externally loading a lot. So most of the gains in that range will be from your efferent strength, which will be proportional to your hip flexor strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it feels more loaded than you realize when you split position, and it's quite deep because of your trunk. If you stand upright, Jan, what does it feel like? No, like keep your hips where they were, keep your legs where they were, but put your torso upright. So come back to standing basically. Keep coming up. Can you stand up straight with your hips still there? You should be pretty
No,
much just standing there like that at that point, which is like nothing. Or yeah, it's the bending forward that creates the leverage that makes it harder than you think. And then, yeah,
mm,
it's 6 minute efforts. What's your experience of it, Jan? Where's those who are doing it?
it, it's good.
Yeah, you
Like I
feel something's
feel,
going on?
yeah, like I feel really all of my muscles connected, and
Yeah. Bit split stance, Jose, like a bit over shoulder width. Uh,
yeah, and I feel pretty strong in that position. It's good.
yeah,
Like you can shoot takedown from that. And,
yeah. Have you done much wrestling? Have you used that position much?
oh,
Flatten the back, Kevin, and then shoulders all the way, like shoulders below the hips, even. Yeah, yeah. And then flatten the back, eyes up. Yeah, yeah. Shoulders a little bit lower. Yeah, you feel like the weight into that. If you start bouncing, if you start jumping, if you start landing, like this is a position that needs to be really strong for a acrobat, parkour athlete,
Is
wrestler.
the front leg on the toes, or is the heel plant? Is the heel
Yeah, yeah.
planted?
I'm mostly doing it on the toes as well. Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't talk about that. I'm doing it sometimes like up super high, like up as high as you can get on your toes, like both heels as high off the ground as possible. Trunk, yeah, shoulders down lower. And this is, yeah, it's one position to play around with. You can take the back leg off the ground, shoulders further forward, shoulders closer to the ground, hips closer to the ground. Yeah, Jonathan's like in a, yeah. If you go fully into one leg in that, like now you're doing the intense ice skating stuff, which you will see on like Korean 8-year-old girls are doing this position, swapping from side to side. But it's good strength. Like it's and you bring the lower back, the posterior into it more than you think, especially when you stay down there for a while.
From a wrestling perspective, um, which I'm assuming is obviously where wrestling prep's coming from, you would probably not have weight on the heel. You wouldn't necessarily be on the ball of the foot, but it would be maybe floating your heel a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get ankle picked really easy if you put that weight on the heel.
She wants them to be able to shoot off both legs because they do their flips and then land in this position and then shoot. But one of the clips she was talking about, one of the young athletes was working on being able to shoot off the back leg coming out of the flip. And that's a big part of what she's talking about is like chaining the positions together back to back to back really fast is the end goal in the wrestling prep, which is kind of like what breakdancing ends up looking like. It's kind of like what a lot of sports end up looking like. It's like, can you hit amazing positions and then can you link them together? That's dance, that's breakdancing, that's wrestling. That happens in all pro sports, but we just don't really think about it like that. We don't usually train the positions. We just kind of accept that some rugby players can get into good positions and some can't. And, then we just do more squats or whatever correctives, but it's not very specific to the problem that we're really trying to solve. In rugby, it's not really well addressed. Like, even why does this player run past the other players when this player can never run past the other players? Like, why does one solve this puzzle differently? Partly it's the positions, the transition between the positions. Usually neither side is actually addressed of like what positions are you getting into, or like to be able to get into better, lower, wider positions. It's generally like how they become better. But yeah, this gives a coach some language and some push towards getting better in the positions, using those positions. Wesley.
The position you were talking earlier about, like holding it here. Um, the thing I heard like David Weck talk about is like using not the muscle, but like the bonal structure to keep like balance on like the one foot, all weight on this, and like leaning sort of in like the skeleton structure, and being like ready to, he calls it like the primal, the fight or flight, being ready at all times, like shoot off. But this is like more muscular um dominant in holding like the positions and getting stronger in that, but also like the movement efficiency you can get in like um the position Wack was talking about. Is that something also you want to incorporate a bit into like this, or is it like mostly to get into the muscle leverage?
Yeah, I'm open to all the ideas, the ancestral pattern stuff. You know, Carolyn is talking about it, like muscle sequencing. There's a lot of really interesting ideas going around about why positions work. The Jay Schroeder stuff is a lot about like when you do these split positions, you need to pull the back leg forward and push the front leg back. You know, that would be his take on this. My feeling is that you don't really ever know why something's working, what is really going on internally. Like I think everyone explains stuff differently, and maybe some of them are onto something important in how they explain it, but I think the actions are more similar than different, and it doesn't. I don't think it matters as much as a lot of people are talking about of like a lot of these different kind of cues and ways of thinking about it, because like athletes and animals in the wild, like they've never had to have a PhD of like a million different concepts of things to be able to move really well. Uh, and yeah, this is yeah, thanks Marcel. Um, yeah, I like, it's interesting, and I play with all the ideas that I hear of like contract this muscle first and that muscle first and push this in out and that out, but I'm not, I don't have any experience of any of that stuff being game changing. I think what Goda's talking about with like the heels out and like really being able to have more strength in the inside of the shin. I can feel that still on my right leg that's had issues. It's not giving me any issues now, but I can still feel I can't really get into these like Goda type positions. Like my tibialis posterior is still kind of weak. So this is a position specific thing that I can work on that's never going to get better with calf raises. The calf is good, like, but yeah, there's still like more there. But I don't know if it needs to be. Yeah, I still feel like it's just strengthen the position. I don't know. There's a lot of like some of it feels like voodoo, just or just extra language, but um, I'm not against testing it or trying it. Like I think with the work with the coil, like it's fantastic. Um, I think training it dynamically is the most important thing, like getting into and out of those positions more so. Like, but that's that's why it starts with like hold the position and then be able to get in and out of the position. Um, I think most people are missing the hips part of the spinal engine. I think like it's all being driven by the shoulders more so than the hips, and a lot of people with the rope flow, there's no hip movement, often no feet movement. Yeah, I like what Jose was saying is like spinal engine starts at the bottom of the spine. I don't know if that's, you know, the spinal engine thing is like we were fish. we evolved in water, and then the legs and arms are bonuses to help us move. So the spine was the original mover, and then your legs and the arms are like optional, and we could still move without the legs and the arms. Like that's how spinal engine theory came about. But yeah, it's driven by the hips when you see the guy move without any legs. And I don't see that hip stuff happening. I think it's still my biggest weakness, I would say, where my upper spine, shoulders, coil, especially like figure eight, infinity type stuff, I feel is really good. But with my hips, I would say it's still probably really poor. Um, and it's less, yeah, it's a bit less intuitive to kind of do in athletic movement. But that's like the Japanese stuff. There's a lot of like the seated walking for their baseball players and such to drive this spinal engine. Yeah, Jose's doing go to level one. Cool. Luca's done it as well. He'd be a good one to talk to. Luca's going deeper and deeper on the Goda stuff. He quite likes it. Justin Mucci as well has gone super deep on Goda, and the guy who broke away from Goda, who does interesting stuff as well. He's got some good stuff on YouTube. Bam, Lionheart. If you check out, yeah, Bam stuff's quite good. It's some interesting. Yeah, like can standing on one leg make you run faster? If you look at the one arm handstand, bro, and you see him doing his clap handstand push-ups, then you would think that being really good at standing on one leg would transfer to running faster. But you either have to put the barbell on your back, step ups, and all that stuff, which is cool, does its thing, or you got to find more leverage into it. So with the trunk positions, leaning slightly backwards, standing on one leg is just ridiculously hard. Ball of the foot off the ground, lean backwards, like wrestle prep, they'd go into back bridge that way. It's beautiful. It's like ridiculous. It's so good, so nice. Yeah, just playing around with it. This is an invitation and a license to find all the positions, like all the gaps in your body, anything you see any athlete doing, whether they're dynamically hitting the position or you're pausing in it. Yeah, anything with the shoulders behind the hips forward, single leg, like mental. It's gonna help. Like we'll see, but I've got all those jumping scores and stuff in the app. Like I can feel bigger jumps coming. If I'm getting over 270 on the standing broad, getting 280 on the standing broad, like that's gonna be it's pretty ridiculous for over 40. Never really was fast. Like I didn't go in the sprints at high school because I was too slow. I was like didn't want to embarrass myself. Where you won't see many pro athletes. Like our best 265 at the moment, you won't see many pro athletes going over 270, especially at like under 6 foot. Cheers, Kadeem. Appreciate that. Yeah, we can definitely wrap it up. I always get excited once we're in here for a bit. Does anyone have anything else they want to add or share? Welcome, Ray. Good to see you. It's been a little while. Welcome, Slavia, as well. Say hello if you get the chance. Turn your camera on for a minute. I know Lucas was on here before. I didn't say hello. We got a channel for it in the group, and it's there to do a case study. I challenge you, do 10 minutes a day, to an hour if you want, do it all day if you want. Share what comes up, share what you're experiencing with it. Yeah, also what Noah's doing there, like all of it goes on to, I didn't mention that, but it's in the guide that I've been writing about it. It goes then on to then do it on a Swiss ball, do it on the Indo board, do it on the pipe. You can progress the surface that you're doing it on, which massively ups the balance component, but it's still positions. It's just more and more advanced in terms of that's another way to advance. You can also use any of the secret skills. Close your eyes, completely different game. Close your eyes and shake your head. Shake your head. Look over your shoulder while you do it. all of that levels you up massively. I was doing 360 jumps down off the box today, Jonathan. Not super high, but I was trying to get like full turns. I got some full turns, but a lot of the landings were just disgusting. Like I could do 270 okay, but like 360 I was just, but it's, I've been working on that stuff of like, it's crazy how much harder that it is than I thought. Even doing like 180 turns, I can get dizzy, like just doing speed 180 turns. Um, yeah, I was going Mikawai, who was on here before. He was doing nice 720s on at the trampoline park. Um, just spinning on the spot. I could only get I can get 360s fine, but I couldn't really get much beyond it. But yeah, it's another thing to bring up.
How is it on the ground for you? Like just jumping and landing in balance and then adding twist to it?
Yeah, I can do 360s. I think coming down off something was like different for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can do good 360s both ways. There's like one way that's pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier when you mentioned about how parkour athletes train, we did a lot of just standing on an edge. I do it at home, standing on yoga blocks, just on the tip of my toes. And I go from different positions there, just holding for different time periods. And it really helps with balance in all different positions and makes you landing ready. Huge transfer and confidence in the position. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know any other athletes who do that. And parkour athletes are so good at running and jumping and landing and like resilient feet. And like the rest of the world just does not give a shit because it's like the internet hasn't arrived. Like people don't look at what the rest of the world is doing yet, which is it's like that's what we need to do with new athlete. We need to let's let's have the conversation with each other and be open to exploring the ideas of other endeavors. Yeah, I've been doing more of that on toes, like heaps a lot more, and just thinking more about the position stuff. I'm giving myself permission of like, yeah, let's try to do a lot more of that, as if it was like handstands. Like, let's get really good at standing on one foot, on the ball of the foot, on the toes, like up really high. Um, but yeah, like 360 precision jumps are just so good, but like so out of touch, out of reach for the average person. I've seen Marcel do it. It's like it looks amazing. Like when you try and do it, then it's like, oh wow, because there's no way you got to land both feet at the same time in the same place and stick. Like it's like yeah, it looks like five ball juggling kind of. It's especially when you try and do it, and you're just like, oh man,
100%. Also, when you see other parkour athletes who are like, they train parkour, but doing 360s is a completely different world. Like, it's untapped, even though they've been done tons of balance and jumping and landings. It's still unknown territory if you don't train specifically for it.
so it's not a lot of guys don't do it.
I mean, it's definitely becoming more and more popular. And in the free running world and competition, there's always innovation. So people are getting way more familiar with spins and adding them into like, there's a technique called cat leap where you grab onto the wall. So they're jumping 360 in the air and grabbing onto walls, 360, landing on one leg into corks and flips. So it's definitely getting into the culture more and more.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I was thinking like plyometrics. For me, the next step for plyometrics is adding landings and balance into it, just like we land in parkour. There's always plyometrics, but we always aim for a stick in the end, and it just merges the positions, the leverage into the way of practice. So you get the best of both worlds, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot harder than you think. Like it's okay to think, oh yeah, like I could stick it if I wanted to, but I just won't. But like then you try and stick it and it just doesn't freaking stick. Like yeah. I was trying to stick the 270s. I was like, didn't stick. I was like, got to stick this one. And like finally stuck one, like trying to put pressure on myself. Because I was sort of like, oh, it's okay if it does or it doesn't. And it just wasn't like, couldn't land on balance basically.
But it's also the way every repetition kind of gives data. It gives you
Yeah.
information about, okay, yeah, I need more power, more force. I need to use my hands this way, or
Yeah. I probably should
that's
have
coaching.
focused on more difference between the reps as well. But they're all a bit more different when you're new. There's more chaos. There's more natural chaos. But yeah, I gotta remember. I still like forget to doing something new, and I was changing it a bit, but more conscious. I was doing some with the like one arm, like to make me spin, and then like some like throwing both arms and mixing up between left and right. Yeah, you look at have you seen the ice skaters dry land skating? I've been sharing a little bit lately.
Yeah, I saw some of yours. Yeah.
It's like no athletes can do that, but it's just like, oh, okay, they're ice skaters. Like, yeah, that's what they do on the ice. You have to go beyond the demands of the sport so that the sport is easy. If in soccer, you never really need to go more than a 360, right? Like you might turn over your shoulder and then you got to go back the other way. So that means you have to be able to do 540, 720. Then when you have to do that in the game, when you have to turn really fast, you're on balance. There's no issue. No one would know, but you just find that fraction better touch and position. I was watching England play Serbia last night because I was doing work and then my wife had a headache and she's like, I'm going to put the TV on. We never turn the TV on. My boy loves soccer. He's like, Dida, Dida, which is his word for the ball. He was like absolutely psyched watching the soccer. And it went off a couple of times because whatever happened with the remote. And when it came back on, he's like, yeah. But watching these guys, like they're internationals, they're getting paid millions, they're at the top of the sport. They're not that good with the ball. Like you watch freestylers with the ball and you see that the touch that they have, you don't have to be that good with the soccer ball to play international football. You have to have other things where you got vision, pass, timing, like keep it simple. They're good at soccer. They're good at playing 11 aside, but they're almost retarded compared to futsal players and freestyle football players. Like they look like there's something wrong with them. The bouncing ball as well, like they never practice kicking the ball down. Soccer players don't practice kicking the ball down. The ball's in the air, they look like spastics. They look like, like put the ball down. If it lands on their foot, yeah, they practice trapping the ball from someone kicking it, but when it goes up and they have to put it back down on the floor, they're not skilled at like putting the ball downwards like a basketball. They need to play basketball with the soccer ball, so they get really comfortable with playing it downwards. Maradona just goofed around with everything, and so he looked so natural with the ball. But you can see all these kids now, like they're setting a standard that's way above what professional soccer can do. They can't run well enough, and maybe they don't barge well enough, and they don't understand team structure. And like there's things that pro soccer players are phenomenal at, but that's the buy-in. You have to get to a certain level of skill, but you don't have to be the best. And they're not the best. They're far from the best. It's the same in every sport, like basketball as well. Like you see these trick basketball players and whatnot. It's like, no, they can't run or they can't play defense, but they're the best with the ball. And they could help the professional basketball players or the professional soccer players level up massively. And you see it starting to happen a little bit as well. Oh, what's it called? That one-on-one soccer stuff. Pana. Like there's a Pana guy that's got 1 million+ followers. He used to sell like how to do Pana and he worked it out. I've had some messages with him. Like he's smart. He turned it into like no foot skills for soccer. And he's got videos with Mbappe and all the top players because he's got much better ball handling than all of them. Because all he practices is ball handling. But he's still a good soccer player. But this concept isn't really there. Kobe Bryant refused to two-ball dribble for many years. He knew that some players swore by a two-ball dribbling, but he was like, no, there's only one ball. And I've heard another player tell me his coach would say, like, there's only one ball on the court. We practice with one ball. But then Kobe Bryant did two-ball dribbling. He's like, I was a fool. Not because they added two balls to the game, not because he was ever going to dribble specifically with two balls in a game. But he went beyond the demands of the sport, and then the sport became easier. So it's all crazy until it's normal. You got to go beyond what's required for surfing. Same with fixing the back. Noah, you're doing some cool posts about the back. I can see it's like it's fun. It's going to blow up for you. It's good. I see you having fun with it. I like the accents as well. You got to go beyond what the back needs just to survive. Like that's the key to it, right? Like Ben Patrick's been telling us really good about injuries. Like how do you get over an injury? You have to go beyond the demands. That's what this baseball player is trying to go beyond the demands of what's going into the shoulder with like one arm handstand stuff and one arm back bridges. Like huge demand on the shoulder so that the game of baseball is less demanding. And they practice throwing like super heavy balls and big rant. But the idea of going beyond the demands is like you have to go beyond the demands of your feet for parkour. You know what I mean? Like if you want to do 360s, practice your 720s. Like get better at crazy spinning stuff. Even like you see, there's people who they do like this is the spin on the place. Like how many consecutive spins in the spot can you do? Like a dancer, do 10 and then hit a squat and like just stick it. If you can do that, then the 360 jump's going to be easier. You're not going to think twice about the 360. Like when as that gets easier. Same for the surfers who want to do these spin moves, right? It's huge for them. But it's not a dominant idea yet in the sporting world to like because it's like, oh no, that's silly. But it's easy to put it in that silly bucket because then you don't have to change. You don't have to test yourself. Then you don't have to go back to being a beginner again of like, oh no, like I'm terrible at this thing. I'm meant to be the superstar. Like, but the best athletes like to get themselves in that place because they already know they're good and then they know they get to get better. Yeah, the spins is a massive untapped thing. No one really spins in sport. Like compared to dancers and compared to ice skaters, they've got a machine thing for ice skaters. I think I shared it once. This is like just like whoosh. They're like spinning like 20 revolutions a second. Maybe not quite, but like super, super fast. Because they have to go beyond the demands of their sport. And it's really obvious in their sport, like they're already going to spin really fast. So they have to go beyond that. Where everyone else only needs to go to what an ice skater's like get out of bed and do, like 720. Yeah, like that's nothing. Like jump, land, no stress. Because they're doing so the toes is the other big one for parkour. Like it makes sense to go crazy strong with the feet and toes and back of the feet and everything because there's so important. How many parkour athletes can stand only on their big toes on the ledge? How many can jump like that? Or how many can hold an extra 20, 30, 40 kilos? It makes sense to me to step towards that. You just do so what we're talking about today. Do some long duration stuff, stand there for minutes at a time while you're at your standing desk. Just stand on your toes with the yoga block. And then uh, every now and then do like maximal hold, but you'll feel safe and you'll know where your limits are for the maximal hold because you've been doing the low intensity stuff. It's like it plays together really nicely, I think. The maximal stuff is much less scary and much less risky if you're doing the lower intensity stuff. Like I think the secret for that young Jonas in calisthenics is like doing so much one arm handstand, it's not so crazy then when you try and do one arm planche. Where if you're not coming from one arm handstand, that's why I think that's his secret. A lot of calisthenics athletes would kind of like to do a one arm planche, but if you're not coming from the one arm handstand, you're not going to have that base, and it's going to be much harder. It's going to be much riskier. So he's the best, and it's because he's coming from the hand balancing background, and hand balances more people can do it in that world. Maybe he just worked it out. His thing is Jonas calisthenics. Like I thought, oh man, this is a circus kid. Like he's not one of them. He's a circus guy. Like he's not in the calisthenics camp, but his handle is Jonas calisthenics. It'd be good to interview him or see if anyone else has interviewed him to hear if he does actually have any circus background in his family or if that's how it started or anything. But he's combining the two, which is also what Ives did, combining rock climbing and grip training. He's the best, grip athlete in the world because he's doing rock climbing and grip training and strict bicep curls. So he is actually bringing some conventional strength training, like all three. Probably is the biggest solution. I get carried away with these ideas and I want to throw one out, but it's like the inclusion is actually going to be better. Heavy partials with a barbell kind of overlap with this concept a lot as well, which I didn't mention, but it's like super relevant. It doesn't really matter how you find leverage. That's probably the biggest point. It's like you can find leverage with the weights if you want. But yeah, something really powerful about seeing how far you can go without it. Sissy squats with a little bar behind you, like use like 5 to 10 kilo weights, ankle weights, like little weights that add leverage. Definitely handy with this. Bobby Panda, who I featured in last week's presentation, I think, bodybuilder, natural bodybuilder, refused to use anything over 10-pound weights, had phenomenal physique, striated glutes. Stairs were the clue, the stairs were the secret for him, like pre-steroid era, 120 years ago or so. Amazing physique, all gymnastics, body weight, and carrying his brother up and down the stairs was apparently his secret to the striated glutes. Yeah. I'm curious about it with me as well. Like I've always had a bit of a fat ass relative to everything else. And they say that the spot reduction thing doesn't really work, but I think there is something to it. Like the most shredded calves tend to be on cyclists and yeah, they're lean anyway, but I'm pretty sure my glutes are fat because I don't use them well enough. So let's see if that plays out with long duration wrestling holds from what we did today and horse stance. Kev, is this going to impact your Poliquin path or it's
Oh, not just on that, man. I know. I'm interested in more things. I got like a balance board, ropes, and stuff like that. So like, um, I'm enjoying too much the hand balancing stuff at the moment. So that's where I've been at with things. But
nice.
the definitely with the acrobatic stuff, I started trying to do the thing that she did. She was shown on the podcast. She was getting her. I think you had him in Real Movement, the guy, for the interview. And I was
Yeah,
trying to like copy it, and I was like, man, it's ridiculous. Like on this side, way tighter than this side, and I go, whoa, I never even found that out until I did it. You know what I mean? And I
yeah,
was like, ooh, you gotta really practice opening up that chain.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There's so many little gaps and yeah, you're not gonna hit them all with the traditional exercise library. Maybe they don't go away as gaps, but yeah. So when you look at dancers, they you can see they're more complete, like more connected, less gaps. Like, you see how fast they can get between positions with just their body weight. Like it's not strength, but it's yeah, it's that fluidity. Like if you imagine your mind like that dancer that's just getting in and out of like these really bent positions and legs up and down, and there's another quality there that you're not getting from your traditional training, and you're not going to get there with weight training or with basketball or whatever. Like especially yeah, for the trunk, there's some amazing trunk stuff in dance. They're able to flex and extend, standing on one leg, while being graceful.
Yeah, there's my mate. He's a ballroom dancer and he's a world champion like under 23. And it's funny when he does things and then he'll pretend you like want to do the best you can with like your spine and stuff and like it's all like how you like curate everything and piece it together, you know. And he's just saying like, okay, try do this thing and so follow the steps, etc. Okay, and he just since he's working from his lens of like 2020 vision. It's so interesting to see, like, see, that would have been, yeah, that doesn't look too good because of XYZ. It's not as fluid because of the thing. Even though you think he's like you move too bulky, but you think you're smooth. That's what people think, you know. And it's funny, but he picks up things like fast because he's doing like 6 to 9 hours of dancing and teaching and practicing. So you know,
Yeah.
he has so much he's doing.
How do you go with it? Are you have you been learning some from him or?
No, he's over in my bay now, but no, I wasn't learning with him. It's just whenever we meet up,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
chat because I was doing salsa bachata and
Oh
he
yeah.
does all the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you put it all in as like it's all athletic, it's all body awareness, it's all the ability to move, then you have to face it in the way that if it's someone who you play basketball against or rugby, like if someone's got much better footwork than you or they're faster than you or they're better at breaking tackles, you kind of got to face that of like, okay, well this guy's better than me at this or this guy's a beast or like and you look at his body positions and you look at what he's doing. But then the tendency is like, oh, if he's a football player or especially if he's a dancer or an ice skater, it's like, oh, it's not rugby. Like but it's still a human body. And if you bring it all into the equation of like, what would 10% more of that feel like? You know, what does it feel like to be able to try and do that? Then yeah, it opens up that whole other world. And in my experience, the best prop that I worked with, who was able to play in the front row in rugby league for a very long time, he just retired with winning more competitions. I think he's like 35, 36, like really long, good career. Best like dancer mover. We did some Sistema stuff, Russian martial arts, and he was the one who was like just fluid. You couldn't smash him because he was like he loved heavy contact, but like he also knew how to avoid it. And I think that's part of the secret to his long career. He cleaned 155 as well. Like he's the one who had the heaviest power clean, and he was the dancer too. So yeah, there's more. If you don't put up the walls, then you might learn. You might become better as well. I've been starting to dance in the gym. Like it's just sort of coming out like a bit of the footwork that I do with the rope and some of the stuff I've been playing around with. It's funny. Like I don't know anyone, so there's like nothing to be embarrassed about, or it's like getting but to become more natural to do a bit of footwork stuff, like a bit of the stuff that I do with the rope, but without the rope. Yeah, it's funny. I would never.
It's funny that you say that because even like if you watch some people in the gym, at least that I'll see is like they're dancing to the music while they're like waiting on their set, you know. So it's like the body wants to do it, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's actually there
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah. It could be the training too. That's the thing. Like imagine if everyone was just cutting loose in between the new athlete gym in the future is like the dance between the sets is also the sets. That's like it's not it's all the one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
yeah,
get different types of music, jumping between different styles of music and so the keep doing different styles of dance in between your handstands and your soccer game and your power cleans.
yeah. It's funny. What was it with the classical music? I think his name is do you know the Russian guy? He only lost against the American, and he was like an all-time like athlete. Like no one scored a point on him. I think it's Cruder or Crater or
Wrestling
he's
or
huh?
wrestling or
Wrestling. Yeah, 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 yeah.
not sure.
Anyways, basically the guy was like untouchable, and then so the story goes that he in 8 years no one had scored a point on him, right? So 8 years no one scores a point on him. So then this American upcoming guy comes up, and so I think someone said he like now I'm gonna quote the number wrong, but I know excess of like 60 barrel chest, right? So he couldn't like get the I think it's like in this Olympics, you couldn't say if you got a grip, right? You couldn't undo the grip and then swap grip for some reason, right? So your man was so used to just toying with people easy that he was trying to get this big guy who had the big massive chest, right? And he's like finger tipping, right? So then he swaps in the game and he does this. So he got a point lost on him just for that. As the first point in I think it was 8 years, or whatever, that he got lost, and then he lost that Olympics. And the to me, I was just like that's one mental, but two, if you look into his background, I think he has a PhD in something else, and then he was like a really really like big fan of like classical music. And then someone in the comments goes, "Oh, this is like Plato's ideal man." That you have the wrestling, you got the classical music, you got like high intelligence, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I wonder if it makes you train better. It's not as easy for the dance. I think the classical dance is gonna take a little bit longer.
yeah, it was Alexander Carolyn or Carolyn.
Okay. All right, I think we covered it pretty well, gentlemen. Appreciate you. Powerful conversation. Let's get some leverage. Let's get some feedback on the experiences of it. Nail some new positions. Get stronger. Feel more confident in positions that weren't feeling very good before. And click that link. And yeah, have a great rest of the week, and we'll speak soon.
Yes, bye.
Bye for now.